The council station floated quietly in deep space, like a bright pearl between the stars. Dozens of alien races lived and worked there: scientists, leaders, translators, guards. The station was known for peace, for quiet talks, and for learning. To trust those who were once strangers, Lara, a young Venari, was one of the newest translators on the station. Her species was known for their long arms, soft silver skin, and sensitive hearing. Lara was not a warrior. She had never even seen a real battle. She preferred quiet places, smooth voices, and peaceful days. That morning, her mentor had given her a message. "There's a new assignment for you, Lara. You're going to assist with a human diplomat today." Her heart skipped. "Human? Yes," the mentor said. "You'll meet him in the Unity Hall." Lara nodded politely, but as she walked away, worry filled her chest. The Venari had always taught that humans were strange, loud, emotional, strong, unpredictable. The history books said humans once fought many wars, not just with others, but even with each other. Most Venari avoided them. Still, Lara could not refuse the job. She put on her clean robes, gathered her translator device, and walked slowly toward the Unity Hall. The hall was wide and round, with walls made of glass that showed the stars outside. Flags from different worlds hung from the ceiling. At the far side of the hall stood the human diplomat. He was taller than Lara expected. He wore a dark suit with a small silver badge on his chest. His skin was pale, and his hair was short and brown. His face looked calm, but his eyes were sharp, like they were always watching, always thinking. He turned as Lara entered. She froze. The human took one step toward her, and she flinched. It happened before she could stop herself. Her body leaned back, her arms pulled in close, and her eyes closed for a moment, just long enough to show fear. The room became very quiet. Lara opened her eyes, her face burning with shame. She had not meant to insult him. She had simply reacted. But the human did not get angry. He did not laugh. He did not ask why she was afraid. He simply paused. Then, slowly, he reached into a small bag at his side and pulled out something round and red. "A fruit, apple?" he said gently, holding it out in his open hand. "It's safe." Lara blinked. She looked at the fruit, then at the human's face. His voice had been soft, not loud. His hand was steady, not forceful. His eyes did not challenge her. They invited her to choose. She stepped forward, slowly, and took the apple from his hand. Her fingers brushed his skin for just a second. It was warm. She held the apple carefully. It smelled sweet. She had never seen this kind of fruit before. "Thank you," she said in a quiet voice. The human smiled, not a big smile, just a small curve of his lips. He pointed to himself. "Tomas," he said. She nodded. "Lara." Tomas gave a small bow. Then he stepped back and looked around the hall. "Nice place," he said. "A bit cold, though." Lara was still holding the apple. Her heart was still beating fast, but now for a different reason. She had expected loudness, power, maybe even anger. She had not expected kindness. "Is this your first time on the station?" she asked, finding her voice again. "First time off Earth," Tomas said with a grin. "Everything feels new." Lara nodded. She remembered how she felt when she first arrived, lost and small among so many strange faces. Maybe humans felt the same. They walked toward the meeting table at the center of the hall. Other diplomats were still arriving. Tomas sat down, careful and calm. Lara took the seat beside him, still holding the apple. "So," Tomas said, "you're a translator?" "Yes." Lara said, "I help different species understand each other." He looked impressed. "That sounds important." She looked down. "Sometimes." He tilted his head. "You speak very clearly." "Thank you," she said. "I've studied many human languages." Tomas chuckled. "You might speak them better than I do." Lara smiled, a small, quick one, but real. She didn't expect to smile today. As the meeting began, Lara translated softly for Tomas when needed. He listened carefully. He spoke only when asked and never raised his voice. When he didn't understand something, he asked politely, when others spoke to him with doubt. He didn't push back. He simply answered with honesty. By the end of the session, Lara felt lighter. When they stood to leave, Tomas looked at her. "Again, thanks for the help," he said. "You're welcome," she replied. He glanced at the apple in her hand. "You didn't eat it?" She looked down. "I've never had one before." "You don't have to," he said. "But I hope you try it. They're sweet." With that, he walked away, not quickly, not slowly. Just with ease. Lara watched him go. She had flinched when he approached. That was true. But now, she wasn't sure she needed to next time. Maybe humans were not what she had feared. Maybe there was more to them than stories had told. She looked at the apple again, and for the first time, she took a small bite. It was sweet. Lara sat alone in her room on the council station, holding the small red apple in her hand. She had taken one bite earlier, and now she slowly took another. The taste was still sweet, soft, and just a little bit crisp. It was nothing like the food she usually ate, bland nutrition cubes or soft root paste. This fruit from Earth was different, real, natural, alive. She thought about the human, Tomas. She had expected something else. The books on her homeworld had described humans as rough and emotional. Even the quiet ones were said to be full of hidden energy. But Tomas, he had spoken gently, smiled kindly, and never once made her feel small. She had flinched. He had offered fruit. Now, as the station lights dimmed for night cycle, Lara kept thinking about that simple act. The next day, Lara walked the long hallway to the Unity Hall again. This time her steps were steadier. She didn't know if Tomas would be there, but a small part of her hoped he would be. The Unity Hall was busier than the day before. Diplomats and assistants from many worlds moved around, speaking in different languages, their translators buzzing softly. Lara checked the schedule. Yes, Tomas had another session today. She took her seat at the translator's table, reviewing notes. A moment later, she heard a familiar voice. "Good morning." She turned. Tomas was standing there, holding a flat, silver book in his hand. "Good morning." Lara replied politely. "I brought something," he said, and held out the book. "It's a picture book. From Earth." Lara reached out and took it carefully. The cover was soft, and the title was written in English, Places We Love. Inside were colorful images, forests, lakes, snow-covered hills, small towns with yellow lights, oceans with waves. "These are real?" she asked. Tomas nodded. "Yes, some taken by satellites, some by people. I thought you might like to see what Earth looks like." Lara slowly flipped through the pages. A mountain rose through clouds. A quiet village sat near a river. Children ran through falling leaves in a park. "I've never seen such colors," she whispered. Tomas smiled. "Some aliens say Earth is too green, too wet, but to us, it's home." Lara looked up. "Why share this with me?" Tomas shrugged slightly. "You seem curious. And I believe sharing small things makes peace easier." Lara closed the book gently and placed it beside her. "Thank you," she said. During the meeting, Lara listened carefully. The talks were about trade this time. Energy resources from one world in exchange for tech upgrades from another. Tomas spoke when asked, calm as always. Lara translated quietly when needed. She noticed something new. Other species, who had looked at Tomas with suspicion before, were now watching him differently. He didn't act like he was better than anyone. He asked questions. He listened. He smiled. After the meeting, Lara walked with Tomas as he made his way back toward the guests' quarters. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. "Every day," Tomas said. "But I also enjoy seeing new places, meeting people, learning." Lara nodded. "Many Venari preferred to stay on our homeworld. I wanted to explore. But sometimes I feel out of place here." "I understand," Tomas said. "I felt the same way my first week." She looked at him, surprised. "You did?" "Yes," he said with a small laugh. "I didn't know what food to eat. I didn't understand half the customs, and I was always afraid I would say something wrong. But you seemed so confident," Lara said softly. Tomas shook his head. "Not always. I just try to stay kind. That helps most things." They walked in silence for a moment. The hallway lights reflected on the silver walls. A group of Jellari passed by, tall beings made of mist and light, and Tomas gave them a respectful nod. Your people. They are very different from us, Lara said. They are, Tomas agreed. But we're learning. Slowly. Most species don't share picture books, Lara added. Tomas smiled. Well, maybe they should. Later that evening, Lara sat in her room again, the picture book open in front of her. She looked at a page with an earth forest, trees tall and green, light filtering through the leaves. She imagined walking through that forest with Tomas. The air cool, birds singing in the trees. Why did this human make her feel calm? She didn't know, but she remembered something her grandmother once said. Peace begins when someone takes the first gentle step. Was Tomas taking that step? Maybe. And maybe she could take one too. She opened her station tablet and searched. Earth culture. At first, most of the results were technical, cities, governments, languages. But then she found stories of humans rescuing animals. Stories of strangers helping strangers after disasters. Stories of doctors, farmers, and explorers. And she saw pictures, not of war, but of smiles. People hugging, holding hands, sharing food. The human she saw in those images didn't seem so different. After all, she turned off the screen and looked at the apple on her table. It was almost gone now. Only a small part remained. She smiled to herself. Maybe tomorrow she would bring something from her own culture to share. Maybe peace could be offered both ways. The next morning, Lara woke up earlier than usual. She had not planned it. Her mind simply would not rest. Thoughts of Earth, of the pictures in the book, and of the human named Tomas filled her mind like soft echoes. She walked to her small storage cabinet and opened a drawer. Inside was a small, flat box made of woven threads. She opened it and smiled. Inside were dried kaolin leaves, light blue, thin like paper, and sweet in smell. These leaves came from her homeworld and were usually offered to guests as a symbol of respect and welcome. Lara had kept them for special moments. Today, she would share them. In the Unity Hall, the usual hum of voices and footsteps filled the air. The large windows showed a distant star system on one side and a nearby moon on the other. Ships came and went silently outside. Lara took her usual seat. A few other diplomats were already there. Tomas arrived a few minutes later, holding a warm drink in his hand. He looked surprised and pleased to see Lara already waiting. Good morning. He said, Good morning, she replied with a small smile. Before he sat, she reached into her bag and brought out the small woven box. Carefully, she placed it on the table between them and opened it. Tomas leaned forward, curious. What's this? They're kaolin leaves, Lara explained. From my home. We offer them to visitors. To show peace and welcome. Tomas's eyes lit up with interest. May I try one? Lara nodded. They are safe. Just place it on your tongue and let it dissolve. Tomas picked up one leaf carefully, like it was fragile art. He placed it on his tongue and paused. A moment later, his face relaxed. That's really nice, he said. It's sweet, but not too sweet. Lara gave a small, pleased nod. I'm glad you like it. Tomas smiled. Thank you for sharing this. It means a lot. She felt her shoulders relax. Just days ago, she had feared this human. Now, she was offering him something from her own world, and he had accepted it with kindness. The meeting that day was long and filled with discussion. A disagreement had started between two species, the Sayari and the Dornoch, over the rights to a transport route. Voices were raised. One Dornoch even tapped the table hard with his thick fingers. Lara felt the tension rising in the room. Tomas, however, stayed quiet for most of it. When finally asked to share the human opinion, he spoke calmly. Perhaps the answer is not ownership, he said, but shared use. Both sides could work out a schedule, and the council could help guide it. Some diplomats looked at him with surprise. Others whispered to each other. It's just a suggestion, Tomas added. But peace is always better than power. After a long pause, the room grew quieter. Lara translated his words into Scifi and Dornic dialects. As she did, she watched both sides react, slowly, with thought, after the session ended. Lara and Tomas walked through the quarter again. She felt something had changed. Not just between her and Tomas, but in the atmosphere of the station. You speak so gently, Lara said as they walked, even when others do not. Tomas gave a thoughtful smile. I've learned that loud voices don't always bring answers. Sometimes silence speaks better. Is that a human saying? Not really, Tomas said, laughing. Just something I've noticed. Lara looked at him carefully. Have you always been like this? He thought for a moment. No. When I was younger, I spoke too quickly. I argued a lot. I wanted to be heard. But my grandmother once told me, if you want to build a bridge, don't throw stones. That stayed with me. Lara liked that phrase. It made sense, even for her people. They reached a quiet corner near the viewing window. Stars blinked softly outside, and a small planet turned slowly in the distance. Lara turned to him. I read stories about humans. Yesterday. Oh, Tomas asked, curious. What kind of stories of kindness? Of your people helping others, saving lives, giving food, even when it was not required. Tomas looked down for a moment. There's a lot of bad in our past. We've made mistakes. But yes, there's also good. Many of us try to choose kindness. I did not expect that, Lara admitted. Our records focused on human wars, your strength, your anger, but not your care. Strength and care can live in the same heart, Tomas said softly. It depends on which one we feed. Lara nodded slowly. She liked that, too. Later that evening, Lara sat in her room with the picture book again. She opened to a new page. A small town, covered in snow, with lights glowing in the windows. It looked peaceful, safe, warm. She then looked at the now empty woven box. She had given the last of her kaolin leaves to Tomas. And she didn't regret it. Her communicator beeped. Gently, a message. The next morning, Lara woke up earlier than usual. She had not planned it. Her mind simply would not rest. Thoughts of Earth, of the pictures in the book, and of the human named Tomas filled her mind like soft echoes. She walked to her small storage cabinet and opened a drawer. Inside was a small, flat box made of woven threads. She opened it and smiled. Inside were dried kaolin leaves, light blue, thin like paper, and sweet in smell. These leaves came from her homeworld and were usually offered to guests as a symbol of respect and welcome. Lara had kept them for special moments. Today, she would share them. In the Unity Hall, the usual hum of voices and footsteps filled the air. The large windows showed a distant star system on one side and a nearby moon on the other. Ships came and went silently outside. Lara took her usual seat. A few other diplomats were already there. Tomas arrived a few minutes later, holding a warm drink in his hand. He looked surprised and pleased to see Lara already waiting. Good morning. He said, Good morning, she replied with a small smile. Before he sat, she reached into her bag and brought out the small woven box. Carefully, she placed it on the table between them and opened it. Tomas leaned forward, curious. What's this? They're kaolin leaves, Lara explained. From my home. We offer them to visitors. To show peace and welcome, Tomas's eyes lit up with interest. May I try one? Lara nodded. They are safe. Just place it on your tongue and let it dissolve. Tomas picked up one leaf carefully, like it was fragile art. He placed it on his tongue and paused. A moment later, his face relaxed. That's really nice, he said. It's sweet, but not too sweet. Lara gave a small, pleased nod. I'm glad you like it. Tomas smiled. Thank you for sharing this. It means a lot. She felt her shoulders relax. Just days ago, she had feared this human. Now, she was offering him something from her own world, and he had accepted it with kindness. The meeting that day was long and filled with discussion. A disagreement had started between two species, the Scifi and the Dornic, over the rights to a transport route. Voices were raised. One Dornic even tapped the table hard with his thick fingers. Lara felt the tension rising in the room. Tomas however, stayed quiet for most of it. When finally asked to share the human opinion, he spoke calmly. Perhaps the answer is not ownership. He said, but shared use. Both sides could work out a schedule, and the council could help guide it. Some diplomats looked at him with surprise, others whispered to each other. It's just a suggestion, Tomas added. But peace is always better than power. After a long pause, the room grew quieter. Lara translated his words into Scifi and Dornic dialects. As she did, she watched both sides react, slowly, with thought, after the session ended. Lara and Tomas walked through the corridor again. She felt something had changed. Not just between her and Tomas, but in the atmosphere of the station. You speak so gently, Lara said as they walked, even when others do not. Tomas gave a thoughtful smile. I've learned that loud voices don't always bring answers. Sometimes silence speaks better. Is that a human saying? Not really, Tomas said, laughing. Just something I've noticed. Lara looked at him carefully. Have you always been like this? He thought for a moment. No. When I was younger, I spoke too quickly. I argued a lot. I wanted to be heard. But my grandmother once told me, if you want to build a bridge, don't throw stones. That stayed with me. Lara liked that phrase. It made sense, even for her people. They reached a quiet corner near the viewing window. Stars blinked softly outside, and a small planet turned slowly in the distance. Lara turned to him. I read stories about humans. Yesterday. Oh, Tomas asked, curious. What kind of stories of kindness? Of your people helping others, saving lives, giving food, even when it was not required. Tomas looked down for a moment. There's a lot of bad in our past. We've made mistakes. But yes, there's also good. Many of us try to choose kindness. I did not expect that, Lara admitted. Our records focused on human wars, your strength, your anger, but not your care. Strength and care can live in the same heart, Tomas said softly. It depends on which one we feed. Lara nodded slowly. She liked that, too. Later that evening, Lara sat in her room with the picture book again. She opened to a new page. A small town, covered in snow, with lights glowing in the windows. It looked peaceful, safe, warm. She then looked at the now empty woven box. She had given the last of her kaolin leaves to Tomas, and she didn't regret it. Her communicator beeped. Gently, a message. At first, it was just a blink, a short, harmless dim. But then it happened again, longer this time. The soft hum of the walls grew louder, like the machines were struggling. Lara looked up from her desk. Her fingers paused over her translation tablet. She glanced at the ceiling lights. They buzzed and dimmed again, then turned bright, then dim again. Something was wrong. A soft chime rang through the halls. Station systems unstable. Please stay calm. Emergency teams are responding. Lara stood quickly. She had trained for situations like this, but training could not stop the cold feeling in her chest. She reached for her small bag and made her way into the hallway. Others were already moving, slow, uncertain steps, faces filled with quiet worry. She remembered the way to the safe zone, down corridor B, then left near the viewing deck. But as she turned the corner, the light suddenly went out completely. Dark. Total. Dark. She stopped. Her ears twitched. The air was still. Only faint sounds of footsteps, voices, and machines filled the black around her. Lara took a slow breath. She didn't like the dark. Her species relied on sound and light to feel safe. The silence wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. She pressed her back to the wall and slid down until she sat on the cold floor. Her arms wrapped around her knees. She didn't know how long the systems would stay down. Her translator device didn't work in the dark. Her communicator was off. She felt small. She felt alone. Then she heard something, soft footsteps. Slow and careful. Lara? A voice called. Are you here? It was Tomas. Her chest tightened with surprise and relief. I'm here, she said, her voice quiet but steady. A small circle of light appeared. A handheld torch in Tomas's hand. He moved closer and knelt beside her. His face looked calm, but she could see a slight tightness in his jaw. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I'm trying to be," she answered. He nodded and sat beside her, leaning his back against the same wall. The torch lay on the floor between them, casting a soft glow on the walls. They sat in silence for a moment. "You're not the only one who's nervous," Tomas said after a while. Lara turned to him. "You?" "Of course," he replied. "When systems fail like this, anything can happen. I'm used to plans, not chaos." "You don't look afraid," she said quietly. He smiled gently. "Sometimes the outside doesn't show the inside." Lara looked down at her hands. "I feel weak for being afraid." "No," Tomas said softly. "Being afraid means you understand what's at risk. It means you care." Lara's eyes met his. "You understand fear." Tomas gave a short laugh. "Every human does. We just learned to carry it differently." A few more minutes passed. The station lights flickered back to life for a moment, then off again. Emergency lights now glowed dim red along the floor. "It's better than darkness," Tomas said with a small grin. Lara nodded. The red light made her feel less lost. "You came to find me," she said after a pause. "I remembered your path from yesterday," he explained. "I thought maybe you'd be near the viewing deck. You're usually near the stars." "You remembered?" she asked. Tomas nodded. "I tried to pay attention." Something warm grew in Lara's chest. Not from the light, but from the way he said it. He had noticed her habits. He had come to find her, even when he could have stayed in his own safe place. "You didn't have to come," she said. "I know," he replied, "but I wanted to." Soon, station speakers spoke again. "Power systems stabilizing. Please remain calm. Normal operations will return shortly." The red lights blinked. Then, slowly, the white overhead lights returned. Lara blinked and stood up, brushing off her robes. Tomas stood too, picking up his torch. "You're not." The station was calm again. Lights were steady. Machines hummed normally, and the long halls of the Unity sector were filled with quiet voices and gentle steps. But for Lara, something had changed since the power failure. It was not just the light. It was trust. That evening in the dark, sitting beside Tomas, had left a mark on her heart. Not a scar, but a thread, soft and new, that now tied her to this human in a way she hadn't expected. She remembered his words clearly. "You're not alone, even when the lights go out." Lara's mornings changed. Before, she walked alone to the Unity Hall, keeping her eyes on the floor and her hands close to her sides. Now, she waited near the hall entrance, just for a few minutes, because sometimes Tomas walked that way, and they would share those steps. They talked about small things, food, dreams, the weather on their home planets. She told him about Venari star gardens, where glowing plants change color during the night. He told her about sky lanterns, tiny paper lights humans sent into the air during special days. She was surprised to learn how many things humans did just for meaning. They wrote songs and sang them. They painted pictures. They sent lanterns into the sky, not because they needed light, but because it made them feel closer to hope. "Your people love symbols," she said once. Tomas smiled. "Symbols help us feel things we can't always explain." Lara nodded. "That makes sense." Now, other beings on the station began to notice their walks. At first, it was just passing glances. Some Venari officers raised their brows, curious. A few whispered behind Lara's back. She felt their eyes, but she didn't shrink away. Tomas never gave them reason to worry. He never spoke too loudly, never stepped too close, and never interrupted others. He listened more than he spoke, a rare trait even among diplomats. One day, after a meeting, a Jellari envoy approached Lara. The envoy said in a voice like wind and rain. "He seems peaceful." Lara nodded. "He is. Are they all like him?" the envoy asked. "No," she said honestly, "but many try to be." The envoy shimmered slightly, their form shifting. "We feared their fire. Perhaps we ignored their light." That sentence stayed in Lara's mind all day. That evening, Lara invited Tomas to a quiet spot near the observatory window. The place was rarely crowded, and the stars looked close enough to touch. Tomas arrived carrying 2 cups of earth tea. He handed one to her with a smile. I thought you might enjoy this, he said. It's calming. She took the cup carefully and sipped. It was warm and had a soft taste like flowers. Thank you, she said. I brought something too. She opened a small box from her bag. Inside were tiny folded paper shapes. Birds, stars, and leaves. They were made from thin Venari scroll paper, colored with soft patterns. What are these? Tomas asked, picking up a folded star. We call them wind signs, Lara explained. They're small gifts we give to those who help us find calm after storms. Tomas looked at her. His eyes softened. You made these, yes? She said. Last night. He held the wind sign star in his hand like it was precious. You helped me during the blackout, Lara said. You brought peace when I was afraid. He gave a gentle nod. You would have done the same. Lara thought for a moment. Maybe before I met you, I wouldn't have. I might have stayed hidden. That's all right, Tomas said. We all grow in our own time. The next day, a change appeared in the Unity Hall. More species started approaching the human envoys. One Sciari offered Tomas a dried fruit from their garden world. A group of learners from the Tanari system sat near him during lunch and asked about Earth's oceans. It started small, like a ripple on water. But it was clear, trust was growing. And at the center of it was Tomas, and beside him, Lara. Lara noticed more than just smiles. She saw walls lowering, slowly, gently. A soft network of new respect forming between races that once stood apart. It was not magic. It was compassion. And it had started with a simple offering, an apple, a picture book, a quiet conversation in the dark. Lara returned to her quarters that night and looked at the star-shaped wind sign left on her desk. She thought about her first meeting with Tomas, how she had flinched, how afraid she had been. And now she waited for his voice. She looked forward to his thoughts. She found comfort in his calm. She tapped her fingers on the desk and whispered softly, I didn't expect this. Then she smiled. Maybe the best things in life weren't expected. Maybe they just arrived, slowly, with kindness. The stars outside the council station looked the same as they always had, calm, quiet, unchanging. But inside the station, something had changed. There was a new feeling in the halls, a lightness, a sense that maybe, just maybe, the future could be better. And at the center of that change stood Lara, once a quiet Venari translator, now someone whose voice had helped calm a storm. That morning, she walked through the Unity Hall not as someone unnoticed, but as someone seen. Diplomats from several species nodded to her in respect. One even stopped to thank her for her words during the recent conflict between the Tanari and the Koran. Lara nodded politely, her mind still full of thoughts. Tomas was leaving. The message had arrived the night before. Tomas would be transferring to a new assignment on another station. His mission here was complete. New worlds waited. Lera knew this day would come. Humans were explorers, always moving, always helping, then moving again. But her chest still felt heavy. She didn't know how to say goodbye. She found Tomas near the docking bay later that afternoon, his travel bag at his side. He was looking out at the ships through the large viewing window. His expression was calm, but Lara knew him well enough now to see the hint of sadness in his eyes. She walked up beside him. You're really going, she said softly. Tomas turned and smiled gently. Yes, my next post is on Station Helios. They need someone to assist with interspecies training. You'll be good at that, she said. You helped train all of us here, without calling it training. He chuckled. I didn't do much. You did the hard part. You listened. Lara replied. That's what helped. There was a pause. Then Lara reached into her bag and pulled out a small silver charm, shaped like a star. This is for you, she said. It's a Venari sign of safe return. Travelers wear it when they leave their home. Tomas took it with care, turning it gently in his hand. Thank you, he said. I'll keep it close. Lara looked down. Will you come back one day? Tomas nodded. If the stars allow it, she smiled, though her heart felt tight. Before you go, she said. Can I ask something? Of course. What did you first think of me when I flinched? Tomas thought for a moment, then replied. I didn't feel upset. I felt curious, I wanted to understand why. And I hoped I could change your mind. You did more than that, Lara whispered. You changed my world. As Tomas boarded his shuttle, Lara watched from the window. The ship lifted gently, curved out toward the stars, and disappeared into the black sky. She stood there for a long time, her hand still holding the place where the charm had been. Then she turned and walked away, not with sadness, but with quiet purpose. There was still more to do. Weeks passed. Lara's role on the station changed. She was no longer just a translator. She began helping newcomers adjust, especially those who were quiet, nervous, or unsure of other species. She spoke kindly. She listened first, and when others felt afraid, she reminded them of something Tomas once told her. You're not alone, even when the lights go out. Lara placed a small photo frame in her office, a picture from the book Tomas had given her, showing Earth's force under sunlight. Beside it sat the small box of folded wind signs. She had made more since he left. Now, she gave them to others, who brought peace, even in small ways. One day, the Jellari envoy came to visit. They stood at her desk and spoke in their airy voice. You have become something new, they said. Lara looked up. What do you mean? You were once the one who flinched, the envoy said. Now others find calm in your presence. Lara smiled softly. I had help. Months later, a new group of humans arrived at the station. One of them, a young woman named Mira, was shy and quiet. The other envoys spoke too fast for her. She often stayed near the back of meetings, writing notes, unsure of what to say. One afternoon, Lara sat beside her. You're new here, she said gently. Mira nodded. It's a lot to take in. So many species. I don't want to offend anyone. I was once like you, Lara said, afraid, unsure. I didn't know how to connect. But you seem so confident now. Mira replied. Lara smiled. I met someone who showed me a different path, a kind path. You can walk it too. She reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a folded wind sign, this one shaped like a leaf. She placed it in Mira's hand. This means peace after fear, Lara explained. It's yours now. Mira looked at it with wide eyes. Thank you. That night, Lara stood once again at the same window where she had watched Tomas leave. The stars blinked. The station hummed quietly. She closed her eyes for a moment and whispered to the stars, Thank you, Tomas. Then she opened her eyes and smiled, because she knew this was not the end of the story. It was just the beginning of a different tomorrow, one shaped not by fear, but by understanding, respect, and the quiet strength of compassion.